Hello, bonjour. Welcome to our Startup Incubation and Acceleration Opportunities in Quebec webinar. This is organized by the Brazil Canada Chamber of Commerce, BCCC, in partnership with the Consulate General of Brazil in Montreal and the Câmara de Comércio Brazil Canada, CCBC. I am Peter Hawkins. I'm co-chair of the BCCC, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all. I want to thank our annual sponsors, Vale, Heel Tinto, Mellowhawk Logistics, Brookfield, BMA Law, and all our members and partners for their continued support. We are an independent, nonprofit organization that has promoted business relations between Brazil and Canada for over 50 years because at BCCC, oh my goodness, I'm getting it wrong these days, we connect. Now, before I start, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. I think that's a very important step and thing that we should always do. So I'm in Mississauga, not in Quebec today, but I would like to acknowledge that this land where we are is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the territory of the Anishinaabeg, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwa Chippewa peoples, home to the Métis and most recently the territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We are grateful for the opportunity to work and to play and to live on this land. We also have created a DEI statement that our BCCC team have put together. Together, we stand as leaders embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. We recognize that DEI is not just the right thing to do, but essential for our organization's success. We lead the change, understanding that diversity and inclusion practices must permeate all aspects of our business. By weaving DEI into the fabric of our organization, we cultivate an environment where every individual thrives and feels a sense of belonging. Innovation flourishes, and a collective potential is realized. Let us forge ahead, united in our mission to create a diverse and inclusive future that transcends boundaries and elevates us all. So, moving forward, we are very honored to invite the Consul General of Brazil to Montreal, Ambassador Fernando Coimbra, for our opening remarks. Ambassador Fernando, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. Bon dia, bonjour, good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome in particular the members of the panel, Raquel, Philippe, João Gabriel, and Ana. Thank you for taking the time to inspire us this morning. It is a great pleasure to open yet another event organized in collaboration between the Consulate General of Brazil in Montreal and BCCC, whose chair, Peter Hawkins, I again salute. BCCC remains an exceptional partner to the Consulate in our continued efforts to strengthen ties between Brazil and Canada. We are grateful for the Chamber's support of Canadian business in Brazil and of Brazilian entrepreneurs as they move to succeed in this country. Our shared goal is to achieve more just, more prosperous, and happier societies, both in Brazil and here in Canada. We hope today to provide a better understanding of Quebec's innovation ecosystem by focusing on its incubation and acceleration opportunities for startups. We will have an overview in the spirit of the triple helix model on how academia, industry, and government work and interact to help startup companies establish themselves and thrive in Quebec. Our topic lies at the intersection of innovation, economic development, and international collaboration. I am happy to acknowledge that Quebec has built over the last 2 decades one of the most structured and dynamic innovation environments in Canada, anchored by world-class universities, public investment, and a strong culture of entrepreneurship. The province hosts an extensive network of incubators, accelerators, research centers, and sector-specific innovation zones. Montreal stands out as a global hub for artificial intelligence, digital technologies, video games, aerospace, and life sciences. It benefits from coordinated public policies, competitive tax incentives for research and development, and a collaborative spirit that brings together academia, industry, and government. At the core of this ecosystem are the incubators and accelerators that support early stage companies through mentoring, seed funding, business development, and access to specialized infrastructure. I am very happy that the main players have gathered today in this webinar. District 3 through Professor Erhardt, and HSA through Professor João Gabriel Rosas, in tandem with the business sector represented here by the chair of BCCC, Rachel, and her team, and enabled by a strong government support from institutions like Quebec Tech. Merci, Philippe Valentin, for your participation this morning, have become an international reference in acceleration, connecting startups with an elite network of mentors, scientists, and investors. For Brazilian startups, Quebec could be a particularly attractive gateway to Canada. The province offers a competitive cost structure, a highly qualified and bilingual workforce, one of the highest concentrations of artificial intelligence researchers in the world, and facilitated access to global markets. The Consulate General is here ready to support this effort to bring us closer together. Dear participants to this webinar, the opportunities for Brazilian startups seem especially promising in sectors where Brazil already shows international strengths. In agri-tech, the complementarity between Brazilian expertise in tropical agriculture and Quebec's excellence in agricultural automation and sensors can create novel solutions for climate-resilient food production. In clean technologies and bioenergy, the intersection between Brazil's future fuels law and Quebec's green economy plan creates fertile ground for collaboration in low-carbon mobility, sustainable materials, and circular economy initiatives. We had actually a very interesting webinar, BCCC and the Consulate, a few days ago to discuss precisely this issue. In health and biotechnology, joint research projects and clinical partnerships with Quebec universities offer Brazilian startups a pathway to regulatory validation and international scaling. In fintech, creative industries, and AI-driven solutions, Montreal's robust digital economy provides a welcoming environment for product testing, new business models, and access to global platforms. The growing Brazilian scientific and entrepreneurial community in Quebec reinforces the clear opportunities that this fertile environment offers. Scientific networks, such as the one launched a week ago in Montreal, bringing together the Brazilian scientific diaspora and binational industry associations, consolidate connections that help Brazilian entrepreneurs navigate regulatory frameworks, establish partnerships, and integrate into the local innovation ecosystem with greater ease. As we look ahead, the strategic alignment between Quebec's innovation priorities and Brazil's expanding technological landscape represents an opportunity we should favor and pursue. By integrating more actively with incubators, accelerators, and research institutions in Quebec, Brazilian startups can accelerate their internationalization, access cutting edge knowledge, and build long term partnerships capable of generating value for both ecosystems. Let us continue strengthening these ties, fostering entrepreneurship, and transforming our shared commitment to innovation into concrete results that benefit our societies and our communities. The Consulate General in Montreal stands ready to collaborate in every possible way to achieve these goals. I wish you a very fruitful webinar and thank you very much. Merci e muito obrigado.
Thank you, Ambassador Fernando, for your remarks. It's so interesting to see the leadership role that the consulate is taking to promote the relationship between Brazil and Quebec. The experiences I've had with the Quebec entrepreneurs has been dynamic and exciting. So I am very keen to see how this can continue to grow. In this webinar, we'll explore pathways to internationalize Brazil's innovation and startups ecosystem by connecting it with, of course, Quebec's dynamic business and research environment. It will provide insights into how Brazilian startups and innovation-driven companies can expand into Quebec, leveraging the province's supportive ecosystem and investment opportunities, and of course, global networks. So without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator, Professor Anna Ehrhardt, who is wonderful, to join us now for this discussion on the opportunities in Quebec. Professor Ehrhardt.
Hi, Peter. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Fernando Coimbra. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our discussion today for Startup Incubation and Acceleration in Quebec. So my name is Anna Ehrhardt. I'm the Director of Operations and Administration at District 3. District 3 is Concordia University Incubator and Accelerator. So as mentioned before by Ambassador Fernando and also Peter, Quebec is really an innovation ecosystem well established and very strong with a blend of cultural diversity, very strong in research institutions, and a solid network of accelerators and incubators. So we here have, as mentioned before, as very strong sectors as AI, agri-tech, very aligned with also Brazilian startups and expertise. We have also aerospace being one of big one in Montreal, as well as clean tech. So yes, startups are at the core of economic growth in Quebec, as well as innovation. But we all know that taking an idea into a scalable business requires much more than passion. So we really need support ecosystem, as well as skills development for entrepreneurs, access to networks, and of course, pathways to commercialization. So we do have that here in Quebec. So there are programs to help entrepreneurs, as well as research centers to bridge innovation science to market, as well as a strong community of incubators and accelerators. So today we have representatives, as mentioned by Ambassador Fernando, from HEC Montréal, aussi Quebec Tech, and also Canada Start Hub. And I will start then with Raquel. So the intention is whether you are a startup that wants to expand in Quebec or you are someone exploring the idea of becoming an entrepreneur, that panel will be helpful for you because we'll give you an overview what Quebec is all about and the opportunities and challenges you have. And so the intention really is to have an interactive conversation. So at the end, please do pose questions at Q&A. And we will start with our panelists. They're going to introduce themselves, give a little bit of an overview of their organization, and then we're going to start back and forth with a few questions. But after your introduction, Raquel, if you can start also talking about what level of preparation do founders need before they come to Quebec ecosystem would be a great start.
Of course. Thank you so much, Anna, for inviting us and for BCCC and the consulate and for organizing this webinar. So, muito obrigada pelo convite. Merci beaucoup. C'était un plaisir d'être ici avec toi. I lead at the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce, the Innovation, Science and Technology Committee. So we have been building this bridge between Canada and Brazil with missions, events, tailored preparations, really creating the link, institutional link. And in my company, Canada Startup Hub, we support international founders specifically with this preparation. So building those institutional relations, understanding the cultural nuances, understanding how they can be part of the ecosystem and not just visiting here, and respecting the differences between the provinces and especially the culture that Brazil and Canada share and some of the things that we are different. So how important it is to build this trust and credibility before you come here, right? So talking about preparation, as you asked, I think one of the most important things is prepare first before you connect. And that means you don't need to be in Canada to start connecting and engaging with players. it's important to understand the cultural nuance, especially in Quebec, that has a very strong community culture, respect with the culture. And even if you don't speak French, but if you start with French and you show interest, that's a good start, right? And the other thing is, how can we prepare? So first, you have to adapt your narrative. And it's not only the pitch, it's how you introduce yourself, how you communicate and ask questions, your interest and curiosity about the culture in Quebec. Because it's not only like doing business and being super assertive and in sales mode. That's not going to work. In Quebec, and in Canada in general, it's a relational ecosystem. So we do have to first build trust and credibility, collaboration with the ecosystem, building community, showing how important we are to the ecosystem, and then we'll have a space to collaborate and introduce our business and be part of the ecosystem.
Thank you very much. So I'll ask Philippe Valentin to introduce yourself and talk a little bit more about Quebec Tech. And if you can also start with what incentives and programs exist to help science-based startups in Quebec, and what kind of services Quebec Tech provide would be lovely. Oui, je ne t'entends pas. Pas vraiment. Halil? So what I'll do, I'll skip to João Gabriel Rosa, and then we will try to figure out our technical issues here with Philippe. So João Gabriel, he works at HEC Montréal. So please go, and if you can also talk about kind of services that Sphere has, will be lovely.
Yeah, of course. Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So good morning, everyone. Bonjour. Thank you for the invitation. I'm João Gabriel Rosa, and I'm a researcher here at HEC La Sphère. I have a background in industrial engineering, innovation management, and everything, and I teach as well at Polytechnic, so I can give you both perspectives from the HEC and Polytechnic. So La Sphère, actually here in HEC, our mission is really to create this bridge between research and between the research in Quebec and the practice, and try to shape this ecosystem. It's a very rich ecosystem. We are the co-producers and co-authors of the Entrepreneurial Index, l'Indice Entrepreneurial Québécois, and we launched last year the 2024. So first of all, it's a very good resource for those who are looking for understand the ecosystem and the environment of entrepreneurship in Quebec. We talk about intentions, we talk about people that are taking actions, the profile of the people, and what they are facing, the difficulties, the breeds, as well the goods, the good and the evolving part as well. And in the entrepreneurs, the center of this study. I will put the study in our internet website on the chat later, so you could check if you want to. And so we publish portraits, we do some qualitative and quantitative research as a research center does, of course, but we do also some formation, and always in partnership with the government. So we hope that our data helps government to design policies, to support the organizations, and really the entrepreneurs take our data and own it to their own good. So I think it's a very plural offers that we offer here at La Sphère. And HEC, it's a big university. We have all kinds of support since the incubation from La Base, which is from the same pole. We are from the same pole here, HEC La Base, and they offer incubation acceleration for different entrepreneurs in different states of their business plan as well. So pre-commercializing acceleration support programs as well. And HEC has actually a lot of programs, social programs, even sport entrepreneurship. So if you're interested of being incubated, be coaching, mentoring, or even some programs like normal programs for formation, you could come at us and talk about it. And I think I'm gonna put our sources in the chat as well, as I said. And I think could be a point of depart.
Excellent. Let's try again, Philippe. Oh mon Dieu, non, ça marche plus.
Philippe, we don't have it yet. So, do you know what? Could we go to one of the first questions and talk to, and we'll
Yes,
get Philippe. We'll get him up there though. We'll get him fixed.
maybe something in your computer, Philippe, regarding the choice of audio. So let me try. So, in terms, we were talking here about the support system. So Raquel told us a little bit what her organization does and how it can support, and also did João Gabriel. So, in your understanding, what are biggest challenges for an entrepreneur entering the Quebec market, and how your programs can support them?
Should I start?
Go ahead, Raquel, you can start.
Okay. So first, I think the main challenges are not related to the language, because Quebec, most of the people in Quebec speak English and French, and they find a way to communicate and understand each other. So I think the biggest challenge for Brazilian companies is to understand how they can be aligned with Quebec's strategy. It's not only culture, but business strategy, the way they do business, how to connect with the ecosystem. Because one of the things that I love about Quebec is that Quebec does a lot of applied research. Like João Gabriel was saying, companies in early stage, they usually start in Quebec with universities and academy doing applied research. There are many projects and initiatives with free resources for early stage companies. And the companies that have more traction and already are connected with universities doing applied research, they have much more possibility to have funding. So this is a very good strategy to go to Quebec. And I think one of the biggest challenges that Brazilians don't have usually the same kind of collaboration. We do have great research in Brazil and great innovative entrepreneurs, but this combination and market and academy is starting since the beginning. It's not something that we usually do. So that's very important. Understand the nuances and the strategy that Quebec has, and also being part, collaborating in the community. Quebec has a very strong social community involvement. So you have to show really that you understand, you appreciate, and you want to be part of it. So we are not going there just to sell your solution and your software. You want to create an impact. And this might appear like something, oh, that is good to have. I would say no, that's mandatory. That is very important. Otherwise, the people don't want to do business with you. If you don't show really appreciation and understanding how they can do business with someone they cannot trust. So I think these 2 points are very, very strategic. And the third one, I would say that for Brazilian companies, but also for startups in general, usually they are trained to do their pitch first. So they memorize the pitch, they know exactly the words, what they want to say, which is great, but it's not enough. So when you are connecting with the Quebec ecosystem, it's very important to show curiosity, ask questions, be part of the conversation, be present, and show that you are there to understand first. Because otherwise you go in the pitch mode and people really notice. First, they notice. And second, when they do the first question and the second question that is a bit more complex, you will feel insecure, not confident, and not showing all the incredible skills you have as an entrepreneur and with your business and everything. So I believe this is also very important, like to be open, to understand, show curiosity, and ask better questions.
Look, I really like your talk on that because it shows like we talk about active listening, but it's really to be genuine about the way you're hearing. You're trying to enter an ecosystem that you don't know. So it's really about interviewing and getting to understand who your audience is, who the stakeholders are. And this is a skill that it's very important for any entrepreneur. And so I really like this because this is the starting point. Even if you have established startups, say in Brazil, when you come to a different market, you got to understand if the needs are the same for the people that are actually going to consume your service, this or product. Same thing for the stakeholders that you have to interact with. So I'll pass the word to João Gabriel to hear your perspective on it.
Thank you, Anna.
Or that,
Yeah.
sorry, Philip, do you want to try just to see if we can hear you?
Hello, I'm not sure it's gonna work.
Hey, ça va
Yes.
bien. On
Good.
t'entend.
I ran a little to get my AirPods, so that's gonna fix it.
Okay, so João Gabriel, I'm gonna give the space for
Don't
him
worry, don't
to
worry.
introduce himself, and then we get back to you.
Very good. I did not forget about the questions regarding the incentives, so I'll get back to it in a second.
Yes, please.
Bom dia, muito obrigado. I'm so sorry for that technical glitch. Still in 2025 at the era of AI, so it still happens. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Philip Valentine. I'm Director for Commercialization and Partnership at Quebec Tech. In a nutshell, Quebec Tech was established roughly a year and a half ago to support our best of the best startups commercialize their innovations. We do that twofold. We take established companies here in Quebec, we assess their tech adoption needs, and then we matchmake them with local startups, which are able to provide them with tech solutions, basically to help both the established companies improve their productivity and the startups increase their sales in Quebec. On the international front, we support 45 companies a year, determine a better, to map their internationalization strategy. Then we identify the gaps, some shortages in that strategy, and we gather some experts which are able to help the companies improve their internationalization strategy. We as well provide them with some money. So we have two packages, the Stage V package, which is $100,000 for each startups to establish, to put into action an action plan to help them improve their internationalization strategy. And for another 30 startups, we have a package which is $25,000 to help them improve their readiness to international markets. Quebec Tech also has a mandate to gather intelligence and data on the startup ecosystem here in Quebec to help both promote the ecosystem locally and on international markets, and to do the right advocacy to the governments in terms of improving the business environment for startups. So these are the three main pillars on which we are active. So local commercialization, internationalization, and advocacy and promotion of the ecosystem.
Thank you so much. You did answer.
Yes.
So the question, and so what I'd like to just highlight here, and that was an interesting composition of the panelists, because João Gabriel, he deals with early stage startups, and Raquel also preparing entrepreneurs to come in. As of Quebec Tech, yes, there are early stage, but also there is this hypercroissance part that it's really for scaling business. So as just to show a little bit of a sample of how our ecosystem actually supports from beginning to end. So I'd like to get off script a little bit, and I'm sorry you all. So I got a question from the audience, and I think it's really rich when people are interacting. It's a bit off script, but it's a reality we have because we start talking about challenges. The new immigration policy, and it's not only in Quebec, like it's also a federal situation. How is that impacting, or what is the challenge in there, and how we can support? I'll leave to any one of you. Go on, Philippe.
I can probably answer that question because I used to work for Montreal International, which is the Greater Montreal's economic development agency. I used to support foreign entrepreneurs setting up shop here in Quebec, including from Brazil. So obviously, as you mentioned, Anna, there's some difficulties and challenges right now with immigration in general, work permits or permanent residency status. However, for skilled workers, there's still some options to obviously secure a work permit here in Canada, including in Quebec. And there's still some options as well for entrepreneurs who want to set up shop in the country. So there's some specific visas which are available to entrepreneurs. Obviously, you need to discuss your project with local either incubators, accelerators, or federal government partners within Canada, which can assess your project and help you get this visa to establish a company here in Canada. Although we have this conversation about the difficulty to secure work permits and the immigration challenges in Canada, keep in mind that Canada remains one of the most open countries in the world with regards to immigration, even with the current restrictions, which basically are making Canada going slightly more generous on the number of work permits than we did up to 2015. So even if there's some reduction in the actual numbers that we see right now with the headlines, which say that obviously we're going backwards, we still welcome roughly 50% more permanent and temporary residents in Canada as opposed to 2015. So the numbers are still significant and there's still options and paths to secure a legal status in Canada.
Thank you very much. Raquel?
Yeah, no, I just want to add something that I think it helps for the founders in Brazil. I've been guiding companies through the startup visa and entrepreneurial visa. And what I see is that sometimes you can do a lot not immigrating to Canada as a business owner, in a way that you can build those connections and the partnerships and hire people from local markets that they understand better and build those connections even abroad. I have so many cases, companies that are like 1 year already connecting and working with other founders or a collaboration with other companies in Quebec, and they are not here, right? So they created this space. They built collaboration with the universities, applied research, everything now after the pandemic are so much easier if you think about collaboration online. And with AI, even more, like we can do a lot of execution parts and collaboration virtually. So I highly advise that sometimes we block and paralyze ourselves because we think, now it's difficult to go, or the visas are more strict. But actually, if you are really bringing your business and you want to expand into collaboration, innovation, research with Canada, I think it's more than a great opportunity now because Canada is looking for diversity, is open to new markets, is expanding funding opportunities for expansion for Canadian companies to go abroad. And I think that's a very, very excellent chance for Brazilians to collaborate and build those bridges independently of the immigration process.
Thank you for that, Raquel. And so to Philippe's point, we still have a good number of immigrants being able to come in, be it in a temporary visa or as a permanent resident. And then again, being an entrepreneur and having a different mindset, you even when you have difficulties or challenges, you gotta find creativity on your perspectives and collaboration. As Raquel brought it up, it's a very good one. If you are a startup or you're starting a business in Brazil, you can always collaborate with local startups here. And this is something that we see a lot, in our incubators. They are sometimes two different teams doing similar things, and they actually get together and create something different. And so that could also be a path, and I appreciate that. I'd like to go back to some of the things that Raquel mentioned before. It's important to understand the local needs here in Quebec and being aligned with the government strategy. So for the three of you, what do you, in your experience, what will be that alignment with the government, and what are the main opportunities in Quebec? Could be industry, what industries are more aligned, sometimes is the need. What are we talking about? Is skill development, is a healthcare system? What are we looking for in terms of needs here in Quebec, and which is government priority?
So, Anna, if I may, obviously, AI, as Raquel was saying, is a very, very good right now. But we're talking about clean tech. Clean tech here in Quebec, I would say, it's one of the main goals right now, and it's also in inside the minds of the new students, the people that are being for we are formating, I would say, we are teaching right now. It's something that is already inside them, these values of green economy, the development as well. So I think that this is a very good trend in agrotech as well. So agrotech is another sector that is you have amazing innovations. And I think Brazil, we have the complementary side, that you have innovations, we have the mindset that could really complement things that we are developing here in Quebec. So I say clean tech, of course, and the government are thinking about it. Diversity, a lot of diversity, to work that diversity within the enterprises is a second point that are guiding policies here in Quebec. So I would say the three: agro, clean tech, and work the diversity as well.
Any take from, yes, Philippe?
I can complement that answer because obviously there are quite a few options for companies and entrepreneurs wanting to consider Quebec and Canada. So I'll focus mostly on Quebec. With regards to what I'm about to say, there are a lot of incentives touching on innovation in the province of Quebec, whether they are the scientific research and experimental development, which are the R&D tax credits that we call SHRED. So this tax credit is very generous for Quebec and Canadian residents. So Quebec has the most generous component of all provinces. So it makes it an amazing place to do some research, to work on some innovation. If you add to that some financial incentives which exist at the provincial level, for example, Prompt, which is active in the software development and AI, if you factor in MedTech Plus, which will focus on the medical device industry, if you want to go to the aerospace, there's CREAC. So there are numerous organizations which manage some financial assistance programs concentrated on innovation. So if you're an entrepreneur and you consider developing or putting into action your ideas, Quebec is a very fertile ground to do that. There are a lot of opportunities. We mentioned a lot of technologies which are more hard techs, for example, the ag tech, aerospace, clean tech. But keep in mind that there's some amazing incentives for software development as well, especially if you're focused on AI. There are a lot of tax credits which are available to companies in Quebec, which can give you a direct cash back on the salaries of software developers, for example, especially if they're focused on AI. So keep in mind that you can get some money, which even if you don't pay taxes, a lot of incentives here are called tax credits, but a lot of them are actually refundable, meaning that they're direct subsidies that you get access to once your financial year is completed, even if you have no taxes to pay. So basically, the Quebec and Canadian governments, depending on the incentives, will send you a check to cover those incentives. So I would focus a lot on projects which generate innovation. You'll have a lot of incentives to support you in that journey here in Quebec.
Excellent. And this is, I'd like to second Philippe on that. This is something we've been seeing more and more with the government, this piece of AI integration, especially for small businesses. How do you integrate that? And if you're a startup with, solutions for small businesses to integrate automations in any small businesses is also, there are good incentives for development. So there was I'd like to, on the collaboration piece, rather than also establishing, say, a shop here in Quebec, and we are talking connections and export, and how would it be for what are the benefits and obstacles for say, startups that want to sell here in Quebec, not being established here? Is that an option? Go on, Philippe.
You're tapping into my professional experience here because I used to support a lot of companies setting up shop in the province, understanding the local market, trying to generate some traction with regards to either sales or product development. So keep in mind that as any territory, it's possible to obviously sell from your home country, so from Brazil, for example. But it's always more challenging when you're not next door to your clients. Just a bit the same that for Quebec or Canadian based companies, it's challenging to sell in Brazil if we don't have a local presence. Obviously, that local presence is not mandatory. You can work through numerous options to navigate this the business development cycle in Quebec. You can obviously set up a subsidiary, but if you're a startup, you probably don't have that much of a big company back home. So just finding that right partner in Quebec, which is either someone in your current network or someone doing business within the same industry that has a complementary service offer, could be an option as well to generate that network, which eventually will allow you to start generating sales. Quebec, more than any other ecosystem I've ever experienced, is very, very collaborative. We like to work with people that we know. And this is something very important to understand. You may have the best product. If you don't know anyone, it's going to be challenging to generate sales and to pierce the market. So you truly need to find those champions which on the local market will support you on that journey.
Look, Philip, this is very aligned with Brazilian culture. We love having established a
I
relationship
know.
before.
We're very similar. I know that in Brazil, you need to go for a coffee to sign a contract, right?
There
You don't
you go.
online. So that's pretty much the same vibe here. We like to know the people we're doing business with. We're tightly knit.
There you go. So, Raquel, I'll hand it over to you. Is it?
I just want to add, because I think what Philip is saying is truly important. And it's related to our social capital, right? So the Brazilian companies, if you think about our background, we have been studying, our families, our companies, we have built this huge network, maybe 20 years of network in Brazil, right? So when you come to a new market in a new country, how can you accelerate that and build this social capital in a way that you can use the credibility tattoos that you have in a way that you can show your background, but also ask for referrals for people that they already trust in the market and that you can build on together. So one example is connecting with the accelerators, the incubators, being part of a chamber of commerce, being connected with the consulate. So organizations that can also give their credibility and their tattoos of trust to show that this company is serious. They have been in Brazil, now they are establishing here. So this introduction, though it seems very simple, but really helps to open the door and have at least 15 minutes of conversation first. Another thing is that being part of the community. So even though you are in your market, but you want to collaborate somehow, or you are doing a collaborative research with Quebec Tech or Hack or Just Tech Tree, and you are already in conversations with those leaders. So we are not someone that nobody knows anymore. You are connected online or in a webinar or in an event online. You try to find them on LinkedIn. And I think this also helps. It's how you show your virtual living room. So how you are in a digital world and how do you appear for those players?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So, João?
Yeah, I would like just to complement a little bit. I think Raquel was talking about reaching leaders, and I think we have much similarities between Brazilian culture and Quebec culture. But one thing I think is different in Brazil, you have like this very hierarchical, I have difficulty to pronounce this word, hierarchia. In Portuguese, I can, in French, I can, but in English, yeah. So you have this hierarchical relationship within management in Brazil, but here in Quebec, I think leaders are very more accessible, they have more accessibility to leaders than in Brazil. This hierarchical is less than Brazil. So don't be afraid to reach them. Don't be afraid to talk to them. And they have this entrepreneurship mindset. They want to help people. They want to be in contact with people. So if you see them in LinkedIn or in person, visit them as well as Accès and other hundreds other places here in Montreal or Quebec. Reach them, talk to them. I visit Axie the other week for a 30 minutes meeting. At the end, I stayed 1 hour and 100. It's more like Brazil, but don't be afraid to reach the leaders. I think we can go for there, and the access is there. People are very open here.
Maybe
Look,
one last quick advice.
Go
There's
ahead.
an important diaspora from Brazil in Montreal, in Quebec, in Canada in general. Use that to your advantage. Connect with some people from your diaspora. Ask about their own experience. And if they can open up some doors for you, which contacts were helpful. So this is also a good way to both develop your network, but also trying to bridge the cultural divide gap, which is so important in business development.
I love this because we are talking about having that import. Of course, it's much better when you were introduced to someone already. This is absolutely fantastic. But to João's point, this is an entrepreneurial skill. You got to do cold calls, and the openness, they do exist and here to support. Sometimes where you don't expect to just reach out, you're gonna receive some no's or even some no answers at all. But this is a skill that you have to have. It's to reach out, and this is very important to get the knowledge, to understand how things work. But this is a very important piece. So then again, off script, and I'm not sure I'm doing that correctly, but I see here a few questions, and I'd like to interact and get the participants on it. So Paulo asked the second question. So before I get to Paulo's again, I have Rosanna and Alain. Alain mentioned something, it's more of a comment, which is good to be shared, that Apex Brazil is offering a soft lending program for innovators in agri-tech, critical mineral and energy efficiencies. Thank you, Alain, for sharing that. This is a great thing to know. Hosanna is asking, is it this opportunity only for Brazilians living outside of Canada, or is it also available for Brazilians who already live in Canada and have a company register here?
I can answer. No matter if you are in Brazil or if you're already here, some people from Brazil already are here and came through a different path. First, they came studying or they were working in a company, in a corporate position, and now they see a great potential as an entrepreneur. And then you don't have the cultural adaptation because you already are here and you already have some connections. So this also helps, and you can do many things in person. So I would say that's a great advantage. The other thing is being a Canadian company. So if you are opening a new business here, even if you are an international founder, if you were born not here, but you are Brazilian and you are in Canada, you can open a Canadian company. And that really helps to connect with potential grants funding, and even applied research. Some of the opportunities we offer in Quebec are just for residents. So I would say that can be a great advantage for you if you're already here, and then you can move some steps ahead that people that are not here would have to prepare first.
Excellent. Philippe?
Yeah, pushing on Raquel's point, there are a lot of incentives which are available, even if you're not a permanent or temporary resident. So even tax credits, which can offer you some cash back or some financial assistance program, are available if you don't have like that status within the country. However, you do need to have a company established in the country to get access to those incentives. So this is something quite important to understand. The good news, if you incorporate under a provincial regime, like 95% of companies generally do when they set up shop in Canada, in most provinces, including in Quebec, you can be 100% foreign controlled. There's no legal requirement for you to have people sitting on your board of directors who are Canadians. It could remain exactly the same structure as what you have in Brazil. You set up a subsidiary of that, and you could operate, do business. Obviously, if you're already in Canada, that question is not even relevant. But just keep in mind that it's a very, very flexible business environment, a bit like in the United States.
João?
Yeah, just add about on Philip here. I think he was talking about you don't have to have a Canadian on the board, but I was as soon as he said that, I thought in Quebec we have this culture of entrepreneurship together, so do it with another person. So we have programs here, we have events where we do this matching between people that are looking for partners to open something. So it's very good if you have somebody from here to work with you and they are looking for partners. Some people have ideas, already have ideas, other don't. So yeah, we have this all kind of events. We have evenings, we have cocktails, we have plan of things there. We match people that want to work together, open a business together, look for a partner. Maybe this is the way you're gonna find your way within the culture, you know?
See, this is the beauty of entrepreneurship. So the diverse dimensions of things. So Philippe brought up the legal structure. Legally speaking, you don't need to. In terms of efficiency, you might think twice. You might, think that yes, you should be looking for locals, be it in a collaborative, be it in sometimes in a volunteer basis, sometimes not. But this is very important, and especially if you're a scientist and you're trying to bring your research to market, right? And usually, if you're a scientist, you're pretty focused on lab, and that other skills needed to connect, to have stakeholders involved would be great to have someone who has complementary skills to yours. So I'll go to Paulo's question. I'll read it out loud so that I don't miss any points. So what are the paths for all of you guys? What are the paths for foreign non-Canadian founders to expand their startups to Quebec and access the support from Quebec Tech? So this is, I think, is specific for Philippe. And is there a clear way for the founder to get immigration status either on the province or the country?
I can probably start on this one. I'm not an immigration lawyer or consultant, so I cannot really assess the options on a specific case, because obviously for every situation, there's a path. There are roughly 40 to 50 different paths to immigration in Canada. So it's quite challenging out of the blue to provide some insights on that. So I'd rather you speak with someone who's aware of the options. I'd say that if you do have an established companies which is already generating some traction, you can probably set up a subsidiary and then get an intra-company transfer. This is an option which is available to a lot of established companies. If you have an idea and you want to set up brand new company, you need to find a local partner in Canada or in Quebec to basically assess, review, and validate your project so you can apply to the entrepreneur's visa, which is still into place if I'm not mistaken. I'm not aware of the new restrictions or guidelines on that specific visa, but this technically is still an option. So you do need to get the right counsel based on your specific situation. With regards to establishing a subsidiary, this is the easiest path for if you already have an established company. You don't need to have local. Obviously, I understand João's point. It's much better if you do have locals doing business with you. But technically speaking, that's not an obligation. So you could have a subsidiary, then have a few employees, get access to incentives. So this is something that can be done under what we call a cost center. So basically, like you have a research and development facility or a team working on specific innovation projects.
Raquel?
I just want to add, Philippe, about the entrepreneurial path. One of the things that I highly recommend when you have the innovation for your company and you want to expand abroad or create in Canada your global headquarters is bring your intellectual property. Because for this path, if you're bringing through startup visa, entrepreneurial visa, you not only have to open a subsidiary, but the company here has to own the intellectual property. The innovation must be Canadian. And that's actually a country strategy. Canada wants to be ahead in innovation, developing innovation, and going global from here, opening doors to other markets with expand grants and opportunities for funding for companies that are Canadian to expand their technology to other countries, even to Brazil. So what I see is that if you have a great innovation, a great solution, and you want to bring your intellectual property to Canada, I see there is potential. There are still immigration paths for that, but it requires a lot of preparation and a good strategy because the spots are now limited. And so the companies that truly are going to create an impact in the Canadian market and in the global market that are usually accepted. Another thing is the connection with research centers. The company can be Brazilian and connect with institutional academy or university here in Canada and collaborate with applied research. And this can really save tons of money and time because if you think about all the infrastructure we have here in Canada in AI, in technology, in other sectors as well, renewable energy, and so many other things. Usually the companies don't know, but they can collaborate with PhD researchers that are in the university in Quebec and help them develop innovation in their home country. So it's a joint collaboration and the IP continues to be from the company. So this is a great strategy that Canadians do to really help the academy to not only teach and understand the research, but also apply in the market, be here or in other markets.
Before handing to João, I'd like to give 2 cents on that. So this is the connections and listening to people to gather different perspectives is super important. At the end of the day, it's going to be your decision to make what path you're going to follow. However, there are certain things that it's non-negotiable. Otherwise, and in Portuguese we say o barato sai caro. It's like, you go for a cheaper option and then it's very costly at the end of the day. So there are certain things that are non-negotiable. So immigration, for example, to Philippe's point, he's not an immigration lawyer, and immigration laws and rules are changing constantly. So unless you are a certified professional on that, do not, well, of course, you want to hear a little here and there, but you do not want to necessarily take advice and just go with it if it's not a professional in that. And the other thing is IP. IP is absolutely important. And then again, we have experiences in the incubators with different strategies. We've seen patterns, But unless you're talking to an IP lawyer, you're putting your business at risk. So this is very, very important. And the other thing about what Raquel was saying, and I think we miss a lot, is partnering with universities. There are incentives with institutions like MyTex. They actually pay for the resource. So there are very great opportunities in terms of grants and funding that can be used by other companies. And so I'll give it to you, Jean.
I was going to talk about my tax as well, but but yeah, just another angle of it. There's a lot of innovate. We are very good at developing innovations here in Quebec. So we, especially in Montreal, have this massive amount of universities, and we have Polytechnique, HEC, UDM, Concordia, McGill, and so on. And we are very placed in the international rank of developing of innovation, but we have some difficult putting this in the market. So another way could be as well taking these innovations and trying to put them on market. So there are a lot of, and again, there's a lot of opportunities to people that they want to sell their innovation. They want to see the innovation through the lenses of a firm, another firm. So sometimes researchers, they don't want to go to the big entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of innovations, and there are a lot of inventions within the universities as well. And they are looking for people to take over and apply them to the market. So maybe it's another angle, and it meets as well the belief that people here in Quebec, the entrepreneurs that we surveyed last year with the entrepreneurial index, they say they want to to go to entrepreneurship in groups. So there's another layer that could help Brazilian startups and Brazilian entrepreneurs as well.
Here you go. Look, guys from the audience, I'm missing questions here. We answered already the ones that were in there. Please, I have some more questions. And yes, and so, but and we do have. Let me see.
Do you know what, Anna? Can I make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
What I have seen here, what I think is so interesting, is we have all of these great minds, these great ideas, willing to share across international borders, cross oceans, across the globe. But with all of this tech in mind, it still comes down to people. It comes down to who you know, who you want a relationship with. And the unique thing about Brazilians, of course, is they all want to do that hug and that pat and that nosiness that Brazilians are classically doing. But Quebecers do the same thing. They also want to do it. They want to be in your space. They want to know who you are. Just as you've all mentioned that getting a partner is so key. However, how do you do it? How do you do it when you're in a different country on the other side of the world? What you do is you use every tool you have. So it isn't just Instagram and well, Facebook, nobody's using that anymore, but just Instagram and WhatsApp and all of those strategies, because you need to be on them. You need to be on them all. And Brazilians are on every social media. And every time I've ever met a Brazilian, suddenly I have 5 different ways to get a hold of them. And I'm stuck, but that's life. On the Quebec side, they do the same thing. And while we use LinkedIn for business, that's a way to make business connections. All of these opportunities are ways to make any kind of connection. And the way you make connection is you don't do the hard sell right off the bat. What you do is you ask for advice. Everybody feels with greater respect if you ask for advice. And what I have found too, Quebecers are really interesting for me because they're a very independent breed and they're not really willing to quote unquote ask for advice, but they have great advice to give. And so I really want to tell those independent Brazilians that if you're looking for opportunities here, you're looking for partnerships, the best way to do it is to greet somebody, give them a compliment, and then ask for some advice on how to build it. It really is about people, making sure they know and like you. And you can try everything possible to make that connection, but it's got to be a person to person connection. I just wanted to share that because I've seen it work over and over again.
Yes, Peter, I did get another question here that I'm loving it. So look, there is a question saying if a Brazilian company is not the right fit for Quebec, mining technology ecosystem, for example, would you be willing to connect them to settlement services or partners in Ontario or elsewhere in Canada? Who would you recommend they engage with to access those other markets? Yeah, okay.
Can talk about this. So the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce, the Brazilian Consulate, associations in your market that are connected here in Canada, they truly can open doors. Um, I think the most important, as Peter was saying, is to do these introductions first, is start building these relationships. And then when you need a referral or a recommendation in a specific province, you will have that. Another strategy that I truly believe it works well is when you come to a big event or a mission in Canada, in the province that you are looking for, but with preparation first. So understanding the cultural nuances, doing interviews first with the people that you want to connect before landing here, and also creating side events or side conversations outside the big events, preparing and scheduling in advance. Canadians like to schedule things and plan to receive nicely. So we cannot say like, can you receive me tomorrow? Then it's not polite, it doesn't show professionally. So I would say schedule, plan, prepare, but come here to understand the cultural piece, connect in person with people that you already know online. So you can come with a mission or in a big event. In Quebec, we have like a gigantic AI event. In Ontario, we have tech events that are incredible. In British Columbia, other ones. So we have in different provinces, Alberta, and so on, that we can establish side events or side conversations and a more visibility thinking about events. And MyTax is a great opportunity for that. At PCCC, we are just applying now for a grant from MyTax and Can Export. Can Export is helping us to build connections in missions Brazil, Canada, with support from the government to increase the collaboration and the sectors' participations in events and missions to Canada and to Brazil. So this is another thing. Connect with us. We can see what market fits better. If it's not Quebec, there are other options. Or if it is Quebec, but you also want to expand later to other markets, that's another opportunity.
There is a follow-up comment from someone from the audience that said Mining Innovation Commercialization Accelerator has a presence in Quebec and all other parts of Canada. We are the perfect connection hub with Brazil. So thank you for that comment. So we have another question from Natalia. She's asking, what about a company focused on bringing Canadian and international companies into the Brazilian market? How is this partnership viewed by Canada and Canadian entrepreneurs? Anyone? Yes, Philippe?
Yeah, you mean basically cross-border trade and connections between both markets. So both Quebec companies or Canadian companies going to Brazil and vice versa, right?
That's what I gathered.
All right. So I can speak of the first part because Quebec Tech is an organization we support Quebec-based companies expanding on international markets. So Brazil is very often mentioned as the main country of interest for startups interested into expanding into Latin America or South America. And we support them directly through a network of experts, some of whom are already in Brazil. Some of them are Quebec-based, Quebec-born people who are living in Brazil now. So we basically work with them. Some of them are consultants, for example, and can support Quebec companies understanding the local market and the cultural differences. I'll never say that enough. This is the main issue when it comes to international expansion and business development abroad. If you don't understand how people talk, think, communicate, then you'll have a lot of challenges. So I think from Quebec Tech's perspective, going through a channel like us, then connecting with the local partners is a very efficient way. Maybe I'll touch base on that a little bit because I think it's very important to have success from a Quebec perspective in Brazil and vice versa. The cultural differences, I'll give you a few examples of things that can just go wrong, which are so simple and basic. In Quebec, for example, we don't like to say no. So we'll always find a way to either avoid saying no, or then we'll, as we say in Quebec, it's a hockey reference, we'll pass the puck to someone else, right? And we'll avoid the problem of having to say no to someone. So be aware of that. If someone doesn't reply to you, if they just don't answer, it's not because we're rude or impolite, it's just that we don't like to say no. So try again in 3, 6 months. Try to find a more casual way to ask what you're looking for, and things may move forward after a little while. Another very concrete example based out of Brazil: do not use WhatsApp to connect with someone. It's very intrusive to us. It's our personal garden. We don't want anybody to get our phone numbers and start dealing with our personal messaging apps. Use emails, use the phone, don't use WhatsApp. So these are very small examples of cultural differences to which you need to adapt. So speaking with someone either from the diaspora or the consulate here, the Brazilian consulate here in Montreal, or the Quebec office in Sao Paulo, these are all resources which can help you navigate those cultural differences and avoid you do the missteps, which can basically, without you understanding how that happened, you could prevent the failure of your business development or relationship on the other market.
Philip, thank you very much for that. Brazil, even banks use WhatsApp in Brazil. So this is a very, very good tip, because everything there you do, like you go to a physician, you have your appointment made on WhatsApp. Everything is on WhatsApp. So this is very, very helpful to understand and see that this is intrusive. However, that no piece of Quebecers, Brazilians, cannot say no to you ever. They say, well, I'll check it and I'll talk to you later. It's your no in there, but we do not say no in Brazil either. So this is a very good alignment. Yes, Raquel, I'll give it to you, but we do have a few more questions and it will be lovely to get to them.
Yeah, no, I just want to give an example that we did last year with the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce, with Canadians going to Brazil and what happened. So one thing that I saw that worked very well was the collaboration in a mission with other Canadian companies. Because if you go alone, you have to be a very good strategy, right? To have the agenda well done there, experts to support, to know where you are entering in. There are complexities in taxation, in communication, there are all these cultural nuances. But if you go in a group collaborate. So we were in a mission in Rio, Santa Catarina, and Porto Alegre last year, and the companies supported each other. So they knew the differentials they had, each one of them. And when they were in an event or in a group conversation, or they were in a specific reunion, they would highlight some qualities from the other company. So they helped each other, and even to move from small challenges like Portuguese or how to communicate better in one or the other market. So one tip I would say is if you see opportunities that you can go with a larger group, it helps. And if you create this collaboration piece to understand the other's business before you go, I think it's a great advantage to help each other.
Thank you, Raquel. So one of I messaged some of the questions. Someone said details for MICA. I don't know what MICA stands for. So if you could clarify, and then I'll try to get back to your questions. Peter knows?
No, but it might be Mila or it might be my text.
Oh.
It's just one of the two.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody wants to comment on either one of those.
João, you want to talk about my text because you were talking about it before? You're muted.
So there's this awesome program as well for my text that we use, everyone uses here, and you can like use this powerful force from students and researchers from the academy, and o famoso estágio em português, and actually the government pay a good amount, a percentage of the salary. So it's a very good bonus here for beginning startups that there's no a lot of cash to pay their employees. Hiring is sometimes difficult, right, in this phase, and my tax comes as this part of we can innovate, we can find these great minds, great brains, and it's here in your hub, in our hub, and you can hire these people, and the my tax pay a percentage of their salary. So it's a win-win situation. These great brains, they learn, they grow with your startup, so they are motivated, and you win this person that will work with you. And I think it's an awesome program.
But the question was how to connect to, and so you have to be
Oh, I'm
somewhat.
sorry.
No, but that I didn't do well. I just say, can you talk about my text? So, and then one of the things is you have to be, you have to have a connection with a research institute, right? Because my
Yeah.
text do
Yeah.
require that. And this is if it is my text. If it is Mila, which is our AI research center here in Quebec. So what we advise is like as Raquel was talking about, even cold calls. Like you reach out, you look at your LinkedIn, see who's in there, and try to start developing those skills of cold calls and reaching out. Eventually, someone is gonna connect you. That was just my 2 cents. But Raquel and João.
And they have very different programs, so you can fit in different programs depending what kind of firm, of kind of research you're in. So you can explore these programs. I'm gonna put the website on the chat as well. Thank you.
You're muted, Raquel.
I was just reading the question. I think he's mentioning Sherbrooke ecosystem, and this is a specific ecosystem in Quebec that has research, entrepreneurial opportunities, and great academy entrepreneurship. I just talked with one of the professors there, and she was mentioning how they do to help the early stage companies or only at ideas to expand and collaborate together at the ecosystem. So I think each academy and university has their own capacity to support local students, but also collaborate with national and international companies. They have specific programs. One program that I used to work was a capstone program. So companies can collaborate with the university and use their resources collaborating with the researchers. And in Sherbrooke, it's something like that, where they have grants and they can support this kind of collaboration between academy and business owners.
Thank you, Raquel. João?
Very fast. In Sherbrooke, they have this program. They are very active. They learn by projects. So if you can submit your project as well. If you are an enterprise, you can submit your project as well, and they can work with you. So they could assign some students with it for your project as well. So it's very open university. So it's actually we all here, I would say, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Montreal, in Quebec in general, we work with each other. It's not like very competitive. The incubators work with each other, the university as well. So we are very collaborative in this level. Sometimes I work here in HAC, a Polytechnic. Sometimes I teach at Sherbrooke. So I work with Popolis, La Base. And sometimes they work very often. We work together. The incubators work together, and so to reach them, sometimes if you're not a fit for some program they have, they can show you another accelerator, incubator, or whatever program elsewhere, and it's usually not that competitive. It's a very collaborative ecosystem, actually.
I'll get to, there is a question here from Bruno Santiago. So hello, great content, guys. Congrats. So 2 questions. 1, could you mention Brazilian startups that are already taking advantage of Quebec's innovation and tech ecosystem? This is the first one. And the second one, do you have any suggestions for programs, tech hubs, or professionals and researchers focused on internationalization, trade, and import and export?
I'm going to jump right in there. I know Bruno. First of all, Bruno, everybody on this panel is an expert who can help you. So first, start right there. Yeah, I just want to jump in here too. Talk to Anna, talk to João, talk to Felipe, talk to Cal. That's right off the bat. I want to share that. So we have experts right here, and I'm delighted the fact that this panel has got such a sophisticated level of knowledge and willingness to participate. So that's the fast answer to that one. But it's a Brazilian company that's already successful in the Quebec market. Does anybody have an example they'd like to give?
Raquel?
I have. Actually, we have many examples, and I'm sure Anna can also highlight some. So at District 3, they do support startups from different regions. You might have so many cases to share, but we do have also collaboration with big companies in Brazil. I was talking yesterday with Ted Hewitt from our Innovation Science and Technology Committee, and he was mentioning, for example, Embraer, that collaborates with Mila in institutes in Quebec and has done many works. One of the companies that we collaborate also is DataGa. It's an AI company from Brazil, and they have a collaboration with Mila. Mila, if the founders that are in our audience don't know, is like one of the most recognized centers of AI and research in AI globally, and where it started everything, right? So it's an incredible area of collaboration with Brazilian companies, and in that time, I remember when DataGuy started collaborating, they first started in a group, like a lecture group, researching together, having conversations, and then after supporting research in collaboration, and then entering in the ecosystem. As I was saying, like collaboration first, contribution first, curiosity. Another thing that I would say, some companies that I've been working with, for example, amplifying the shelf life of the fruits. So they have interest specifically in entering the Quebec region. So they went in a huge event in Montreal, the CPMA fair, that's only for products that are organic, and they launched the company and the innovation inside the innovation zone of this big event in Montreal. And with that, they started collaborating with some of the suppliers, some of the research centers, and that started their way to be part of the community. So I think these are some of the strategies I've seen. But I would say first thing is to map collaboration that you can do with association in your sector, or innovation center, or an incubator that can help you to build this bridge, and more specifically in your niche.
So being mindful of our time, we have 5 minutes left, so I'll get to a few comments here. So Raf was saying to your point, Raquel, that Banco do Brasil has also been collaborating with Mila for 4 years now. There are a couple of other questions. So circling back to the mining, I guess the same person had asked, is there a soft landing program or training that Brazilian companies can take to get more familiar with the Quebec and Canadian mining industry? So if any of you have
Guess what? I just in this chat, a fellow from Sudbury just reached out to me, and there is indeed it is called MICA, MICA, Mining Innovation Commercialization Accelerator. And so if anybody wants to explore that, it's in Sudbury, MICA, Mining Innovation Commercialization Accelerator. While it's not in Quebec, there is one there. So just sharing the knowledge.
Thank you, Peter. So I have one last question from Natalia, and then we were probably going to go for the closing, and then I'll leave it to you, Peter. But Natalia had asked that she's saying that she recently launched a company focused on bringing Canadian and worldwide agri-tech and energy techs into the Brazilian market. And any advice on where to find potential Canadian leads? Any important information on these sectors in Canada? Yes, Raquel?
Talia, information is everywhere. So I think the most important is to find the right player that can help you to curate those data, that information you are researching, because otherwise you stay like 6 months doing desk research and not knowing which path you can go, what are the assertive connections you have to make. What I see many times is companies that are coming here and they are like just doing network without any strategy, and they spend months just going to the wrong direction. Try to find good players that can advise you to build the strategy first and build a social capital strategy that's not only just networking and talking to people from any industry, but really focus on what you are looking for, and understanding well the niche you are looking for and how you are going to build your narrative for this ecosystem, because probably the way you introduce your company in Brazil is going to be different in Quebec. So understanding how you can show your secret sauce, how you can engage with the ecosystem, and then building those relationships are going to be a big difference.
Philip?
I just shared the website of MISA Group, which is an entity based in Quebec. They organize an annual event. So these are the kind of gatherings which you can attend to connect with local companies. You'll find a lot of mining companies both in Quebec and in Ontario. So in Ontario, you have larger scale companies. In Quebec, you'll have a lot of junior mining companies. So depending on your target audience, you have both options in Canada. And so there are different options as well. If you want to connect with the AgTech world, because that was the question, there's also the AgTech zone in Quebec, and there are a few other partners such as Syntech in a city called Saint-Hyacinthe, which can support you as well. So there are numerous partners depending on your industry. You just need to Google search a little bit, and then you should find a few, and or obviously connect with the Canada, Brazil Chamber of Commerce. They can support you in those connections as well.
Yes, João?
Yeah, as Philip said, there's a lot of resources, but I just want to give a little tip. Most of agro companies in Quebec are family owned, so our family that owns the enterprise. And that requires a kind of a different approach. I know because Brazil as well, we have a lot of family-owned companies. So keep that in mind to approach. They want to keep this company, have a real impact for them is very important. So the values of these companies are beyond other things, and sometimes are very incrustated, is very close to the family value as well. So be kind, think about all of this, how to approach this family, because it's different. It's very different.
So I'll close with just the comments that Alain Tivierge, he's one of our attendees today. He's saying that he is the Global Outreach VP for MICA. So there we go. It was the right spelling. And so Bernadette Fernandez is saying that led by Simi and Micah will operate across Canada through the following main partners. Bradshaw Research Initiative for Minerals and Mining in BC. There's also Inotech Alberta, Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and College of North Atlantic. And yeah, so with that, I thank you all and thank you very much for the interactive sessions. And I'll pass it on to Peter.
Thank you so much. I am actually going to pass it on to Ambassador Coimbra just to say a few closing words in light of the conversation that he's just heard. Sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter. Passing the puck. Yes. No, just very briefly to say that it was really a delightful webinar. I think the panelists gave incredibly useful tips. They showed a lot of understanding and knowledge. Thank you, Anna, for navigating through all of these tips and interventions. You were brilliant as usual. Thank you, Peter. As I said, this discussion just showed that my observations were correct. This is an incredibly promising ecosystem. Things happen here, and what makes it very special for Brazil is the values that we discussed here. The way Quebecois and Brazilian cultures really connect, and that really gives a lot of quality to the possibilities of doing business here and of Quebecers doing business back in Brazil. So congratulations to everyone. I must make a little comment also that we also were involved in mapping the Quebec ecosystem and the Atlantic provinces. This is available in our website. I think one of the takeaways is that there's a lot of the personal dimension is really important, but that there are very strong institutions behind that can support innovation, that can support people that want to do business here. So please do take advantage of the Consulate General. We have a trade section. We have a science and technology section. Franklin and Andrea are silently participating to this webinar. They are here to help you guys in any way you can. And of course, Peter, the team, the chambers, all of this is here to support you. And I look forward to continuing to promote these kinds of meetings. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I will add a few little things to this too. In the chat, we saw Ralph Cherry is actually here, and he is the Latin American director for Invest Quebec, an excellent contact. Alain Thieberge, actually, I've been on a pending hold with you with LinkedIn for 6 months. You may want to accept me, and then I might remember what Micah really is. And I would like to also, of course, thank Professor Anna Earhart for moderating and for sharing her knowledge. Obviously, João Gabriel Rosa, thank you so much. I loved hearing how collaborative you are in all of this. Philippe Valentin, I love the fact that we finally solved your technical problems because we're talking about technical things, but your insight and the information you shared too was really valuable. So thank you so much for that as well. And Franklin, you worked behind the scenes the whole time, so thank you. Hakel, always a pleasure. Wonderful to have you as our co-chair of our IST committee at the BCCC. And Andrea, too, your support. Khalil is working behind the scenes. And there's Andrea, wonderful. And Khalil is working behind the scenes as always. And Demas is working behind the scenes. And Ambassador Coimbra, thank you for, in fact, I believe this was actually your idea. So thank you so much for the initiative and helping us develop it and for giving it gravitas. I really appreciate that. And so, on behalf of the BCCC, I do want to thank our sponsors, our partners, and members. The event is one of many events that the BCCC organizes throughout the year. In fact, we're having our international cocktail is in Toronto tonight, and then in Ottawa tomorrow night. And next year, we should be hosting one in Quebec. So, play our cards right. But please follow us on our website, our social media channels for more information on upcoming initiatives. Also, we'll have a webinar on COP30, the aftermath. And we also offer membership and sponsorship opportunities where you will get visibility, networking opportunities at all our events. And so thank you for joining us today, and count on BCCC to expand your network and to support you in any initiatives that you think can really develop and grow the partnership between Brazil and Canada. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. And looking forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.